I'm going to wait a second before I say anything because the timing is impeccable. The cat's automatic feeder is right next to my desk, and I had recorded my voice on it calling her when it feeds her. So it says,
Oh
"Here, Pidgey
no.
Pidge, Pidgey Pigeon Cat."
Now you're gonna get the claws under the door.
Oh, I know. No, I actually put the bowl with her food in it outside of the room so that she has food out there. So it spilled it into like the plastic like under bowl. But anyway, okay. Oh my gosh. Hi, I'm Tara Lynn of Geek Saga Entertainment here with my co-host Manny for the Geek Saga. For the Geek Saga Show series, The Media That Made Us. Say that 10 times fast. This series will focus on media that the two of us consumed in our younger or maybe even just slightly younger years, media that helped shape our current interests and that we still love.
So I'm Manny, and for our 7th Media That Made Us episode, we're continuing our coverage of the reimagined Battlestar Galactica series and discussing the new Caprica Arc, which includes BSG Season 2, Episode 18 through 20, and Season 3, Episodes 1 through 4.
Or is it Season 3, Episodes 1 through 3?
I think it's 1 through 3.
Yeah.
Because,
It
you know what it is?
depends.
It's that
depends on
first
where you
episode
look.
is like an hour and a half long, so it feels like 2 episodes.
Right. Well, and it depends on where you look, because if you do like a Google search, it shows the beginning of Season 3 as consisting of the first 2 episodes, Occupation and Precipice. But if you're, and then episodes 3 and 4 are, oh my gosh, now I'm blanking on what 3 and 4 are called. Exodus part 1 and 2.
Mm-hmm.
But then if you're watching along, like say with us on Amazon Prime, the first 2 episodes, Occupation and Precipice, are presented as one.
Mm-hmm.
Fun fact, actually, this is because Ronald D. Moore originally told the network that they would wrap up the new Caprica arc within 3 weeks, but then Exodus stretched into 2 episodes. So even though Occupation and Precipice were originally scripted and shot separately, they ended up being combined as this like 2-hour season premiere.
Nice.
Anyway, before we get started, just a heads up that you can follow me and therefore all the Geek Saga endeavors at a Geek Saga on Blue Sky, Facebook, Instagram, Threads, TikTok, and YouTube. Do not bother with Twitter anymore. Honestly, I rarely was using it anyway, so I locked it down and will not be ever using it again.
And you can find me on Facebook and Instagram at Manissimo Art.
Last but hopefully not least, we hope that you'll check out the Geek Saga Entertainment Patreon. We have 10 tiers that range from $1 a month to $40 a month. It's a great way to support us and receive some fun perks in return, including early access to all of our podcasts, be they podcast versions of live episodes like these or podcast-only episodes, plus some other fun things along the way. You can check it out at patreon.com/geeksaga_entertainment.
Our format for these episodes includes our top 5 moments that made it, basically our hot takes from the portion of the series we're covering, followed by any insights we've uncovered from rewatches and or being longtime fans.
And for this new Caprica arc, we're going to kick off these top 5 moments with one alliance to rule them all, that being Caprica 6 and Sharon, who in season 2, episode 18, downloaded trauma bond their way into agreeing that they want to facilitate peace between humans and Cylons. So first of all, wow, Deanna, trying to manipulate the two of them because she sees weakness in them due to the fact that they both fell in love with a human or loved humans. Because I think in the case of Sharon, like, sure, she might have fallen in love with Chief, but she also loved Adama and probably other, people that she was with in the fleet as well. So it's just funny that like Deanna's attempt to manipulate them just kind of totally backfires on her.
Yeah. Yep.
And, at the time I didn't really think about it this way or maybe this much, but I might feel a bit meh that Caprica 6 needs head Gaius to kind of hold her hand through making the following realizations and decisions, not to mention the fact that they come on the heels of 6 and Deanna and Sharon's interaction with Anders, another man. But Caprica 6 says that jealousy, murder, and vengeance are all sins in the eyes of God, and that she and Sharon know this. And I guess like they're hinting that they know this because of their experiences with humans, their direct experiences. But they also understand that the other Cylons don't want to hear any of that, because then they might question whether, I don't know, committing genocide on the entire human race was a mistake. And then it was a little bit amusing to me that how they're letting Anders go at the end of this whole back and forth, but he pauses to ask, "Who are you? What kind of people are you?"
What
Like,
kind of people are you?
oh, like I get it. It's a good moment, but also just go. Like they're letting you go.
Yeah, don't waste any time, man. Just go.
And Caprica 6 responds saying, "I don't know," but the word, at least as far as in my opinion, the word "yet" is kind of hanging unsaid at the end of that response. And yeah, hey, now maybe they, as two heroes of the Cylons, can show the others the right way, which bold of y'all to think that. But I do love how Sharon is so with Caprica 6 on this, even knowing what's coming, like how not great the whole thing goes. It's very uplifting. Like Sharon is kind of like crying. She's like, "I'm with you," and they're like holding hands, and the light shines down as the Cylons above remove the rocks, and it's like, oh, it's just a very, these episodes were so hard for us to narrow down like 5 top moments. Some of that being because there's a lot of really major shit that happens that we just didn't like. It's just kind of negative, and we didn't want to have it be that moment. But this was not negative, even though it leads to some situations.
Exactly.
The actual alliance between the two of them, all this stuff between the two of them was just really was moving. It was heartfelt. It was nice from Cylons, especially.
There was a thing about Deanna that just gives me the ick. There's something about her personality, and so that I'm talking about the character, not Lucy Lawless. I love Lucy Lawless. She's fantastic and amazing. But when they're sitting there talking, and they're just kind of in a private conversation, and Deanna rolls up and she's like, "Hey guys, what are you doing?" And they're just like, "We're just talking." "Oh, about what?" It reminds me of those people that try to get you to go to church, and they're trying to be your friend. So they're trying to get they don't have that same glide to like get into the inner circle. So they do weird shit like that. I don't know. There's just she's clearly just trying to like manipulate them, and like, "Oh, see, we're all friends here, right, guys? High five. Look, like here we are." When these two ladies are clearly going through something, because they're both, they both just got resurrected. There's all this shit that happened, and they're trying to kind of work it out in their heads what exactly it's like, going on, But Deanna's pushiness was definitely just like a little bit much, and definitely it's like the only thing you're gonna accomplish is closing. These girls are gonna close themselves off to you, because they don't want to like deal with it,
I'm sorry.
What I did, that's right. What I did like about Caprica and Sharon is that they're both going through a very similar kind of thing, but they're both dealing with it in two very different ways. Sharon is more outward. She's more angry. She's, loud music, working out, breaking shit, my whole life is a lie, all this stuff. Caprica's kind of almost the same, but just as you can tell, she's just kind of more processing it like internally.
Oh yeah.
Which is what I kind of like relate to more, because I'm not like an outward, kind of dealing with shit. I like to do things more like internally, so it was cool. But then going back to this, okay, so Sharon was a sleeper, but Caprica wasn't, right? So Caprica, you can tell, is having an easier time. She knows what she was from the start, but Sharon wasn't, So the question is now, why resurrect them and allow them to keep moving forward like these like sleeper agents, right? Because to me, if this is going to be the outcome of having a sleeper agent, you wake them back up, and then now they have to kind of like relearn life again. And when someone has been conditioned, who knows how long, Boomer was there, with these people and grew to love them, and now you're asking them to just forget about it. It would just make more sense to me. Like, I feel like it was a bad thought process on the Cylon's part, because it's like, if I was going to do that, then what we would do is just download her information and then just box that one and be like, okay, because
which is part of what they're like. But that's the thing. If they box, I think if they box this Sharon, did they box all of them? Because that's
I don't know, because
that's
the part.
like.
Yeah, but that's the part I'm confused about, because there's multiple Sharons at one time and they're all experiencing different things.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
I
mean, well, because later they do box, when they do box Cylons, it's boxing all of them. And that's why I would assume that it's that. But yeah, I mean, it would make more sense to only box this Sharon. But then what if the other Sharon signed out? Like, I don't know, because they all do share each other's memories in a way. Because Sharon Agathon remembers things about being with Chief and
that's
stuff.
true. Yeah, that is
true. I mean, and also it is this very like amorphous like threat that, well, if you don't behave, we're gonna box you. And also too, like, just going back to, I like the point you're making about the difference in the way Sharon and Caprica 6 are handling things, because is it only because Sharon was a sleeper agent and Caprica 6 knew what she was doing? Is it because they're just they were created as inherently different beings? And some of it, I think, also, despite the fact that Caprica 6 knew who she was and what she was doing, she also believes that Baltar is dead. And she does have this, like, she has her head Gaius, like this manifestation of the man she loved, who she believes is dead, who is, as I already mentioned, like holding her hand through making decisions and whatnot. Obviously that goes away later when she realizes he's not dead, and then she actually is with him in person. But yeah, it is a very, there's a lot of like, and to be fair, just even despite the many watches and me talking to Dean, who knows so much more than I do, and I've also read there are like these handbooks that went along with seasons 1, 2, and 3 that have a lot of really great insights. So I've read those. It's been a long while, but I have read them, and just like looking things up online, I've started following the Battlestar Battlestar subreddit a lot more than I ever used to. Even though it's not as like, there's a lot of posts there, but they're not as like insightful as I would expect sometimes. But anyway, all right. I think we can probably move on to the next one.
Yeah. All right. Next up, a top moment that spans the 2-part season 2 finale, that being a rescue mission with a side or two of chaos.
Okay, it was obvious that this was never going to go exactly to plan, right? Like, like we all knew that it wasn't just gonna be like a, fly in, scoop them up and leave sort of thing. But wow, I the whole like host of problems that they have. First, this navigational error that is actually what leads them to discover the habitable planet that becomes New Caprica, which is part of the reason why this particular rescue mission made it into our top moments, because there's a lot of other stuff that goes into it. But one of the very important things is, whoa, if they hadn't done this rescue mission that involved this navigational error, they may never would have found New Caprica because of it being in the nebula or whatever. And then when the search and rescue team finally does land on Caprica, they're too late to save like half of Anders' crew, because those people all died that very morning when their base camp got hit. Just it's a big oof, like, especially because it's like maybe if you hadn't had the navigational error and then also landed like in the wrong place, you might have been early enough to save them. Like, way to make them feel bad, guys.
No, but that's what Battlestar does.
Yeah.
I mean, let's face facts. We know the level of abuse we're taking by watching the show.
Well, now we do, especially.
Yeah.
Rewatching.
Yeah.
And then of course the Cylons, or maybe more particularly the Centurions, are right behind them when they
Mhm.
find each other, and they attack within minutes. And like the search and rescue team and Anders and his people, they take this heavy fire for a little bit. They go running and hiding and diving behind random walls and stuff. But then like the Centurions just stop, and they end up at a standoff, for lack of a better term,
Mhm.
for like 18 hours. However, they do specifically say like it's been 18 hours. I have so many questions. Did they all stay awake for those 18 hours?
Yeah.
Like, but also it turns out that at some point the Centurions just left. Like, man, I
Yeah.
would be pissed that I didn't notice whenever they left, because who like I suppose there is a chance they're trying to say, oh, they just left. Like they somehow we just
No.
saw them leave. But I don't know that for sure, and I kind of think maybe not. Like, I kind of think they were just, like, hunkered down, and the Centurions, somehow they're, like, normal, like, "Hoopoo, hoopoo, stomp,
Yeah.
stomp, hoopoo." Like, they didn't hear they didn't hear
Yeah.
them leaving? I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. They just magically vanished, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
I'd have been like, "I didn't hear no tin cans walking away. They're still over there." 3 weeks later, I'd still be sitting there, you know? I'm hungry.
Nobody nobody slept. How many
Yeah,
stims do we have left?
exactly.
But then, like, so they realize they're gone, and the brother Cavill just, like, he, like, kind of, like, rises up.
Like,
I think
out of the grass, "It's a miracle." And it's like,
"Let
"Dude,
us pray."
let us pray."
And, like, some of the like, you see the one guy, the one soldier or whatever, he's, like, taking out he's just taking out everybody's just kind of, yeah, sure, yeah, it's a miracle, let's pray."
Yeah.
But Starbuck and Sharon are like, "What's happening here?"
"Who's this
And,
clown?" You
like,
know?
we've wouldn't they have known? Well, for sure, like Starbuck and Sharon would have known that if this rando dude was part of their search and rescue team. Like, there weren't that many of them that went down
No.
there. And so are they assuming that he was part of Anders' group?
That's gonna be one of those conversations when they all get back and they figure out he's a Cylon. They're all like, "You didn't know?" They're like, "I don't know. I thought he was with you." Like, "Oh, I thought he was with you." Like,
I don't know
nope.
if they had that was off screen, that conversation, because
But then the thing is that did he sneak up with them, or did he just magically appear like we discussed out of the grass? Like, it's a miracle, you know? Like,
I mean, I think he snuck up about the time the Centurions left, or
I
maybe
guess
before. Or just after. For sure, I think he snuck up. But yeah, I think it was like just before, during, or just after the Centurions were beating their retreat, as silent as it was. He was as
yeah,
silent as they were in the woods, with branches and leaves and
yeah.
ruins with like loose stones and shit
Hmm.
everywhere. I mean,
But
listen,
yeah,
they're Cylons. Like, I'm not disbelieving or saying I hate this or anything. It's just funny.
it is funny. I mean, you can, but I don't know, right? Because they make such a ruckus when they are like walking around and stomping around, you know. But there's a few times in the show where they're in the forest and they're like, "Wait, hey, do you guys hear that? There was a twig that just broke," you know, like, wait a minute, everyone's getting their guns ready and all this kind of stuff. Where it's in actuality, it's like, "Hey, do you guys hear? It sounds like a trash can that's rolling down the mountain. Do you hear this?" I think they're about 17 clicks that way, but they're coming. They'll be here by nightfall, you know, like they're not exactly known for their stealth, you
Right.
know.
I mean, even when the Centurions do first attack, Sharon says incoming. Like, she hears it, senses it, whatever,
Hmm.
before before any of the humans do. So you'd think, but
But I will say this, if you are in probably as many firefights as Anders' group was, you probably are partially deaf at this point.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And let's
yeah.
face facts, like for people who have never fired a firearm before, it is extremely loud, extremely. So when you see these like some of these episodes where they're on the actual Galactica and they pull out their firearms, they're like, "Oh, let's start shooting." You're in this like just kind of chasm of echo. It's like just an echo chamber, and you're shooting a gun. I guarantee you, you pop 3 or 4 shots, you're not going to be able to hear for at least a good 24 to 36 hours at all. So maybe, in all honesty, they did storm down the mountain, but everyone who came off the Galactica or Anders people are just fucking deaf. Because I know for a fact those soldiers on the Galactica ain't walking around with ear protection just in case a firefight breaks out, you know?
Which, let's not even get started on the whole like, oh yeah, let's have a gunfight on a ship in space.
In space with metal everywhere. No, nothing's going to ricochet or penetrate at all. You know, let's shoot those grenade rounds that we have. You know.
And speaking of people just like or Centurions, whatever, Cylons sneaking off, I'm also wondering, did I totally miss something, or is there maybe a deleted scene that shows the Cylons actually leaving Caprica? Because even now, I'm still confused how they get back to the Galactica and Starbuck is like, the occupation is over. The Cylons have left Caprica. And it's like, how did you know all of them left? How did you know all of, yeah, did I say that? How did you know all of them left? How did you know that the Cylon occupation is over? Like, them being left alone in that one instance and being able to escape means it's over? Or did you see things on your way out? It's very like, jumping from point A to point Z, you know?
Like, I would assume like maybe they just left to go get their friends, and then here's our chance to skedaddle before they get back, you know, like, let's get the hell out of here and let's go. But if they like, I mean, at that point, if the occupation was over, it's like, guys, just take your time, you know, maybe stop by the store, get some supplies that are not all like irradiated, you know, like,
there's got to be some toothpaste stored somewhere.
Yeah. Like toilet paper, you know, hey, toilet paper is not going to get radiated. That's fine, you know?
I mean, of course, I know that once they get back on the ship, like Starbuck makes this announcement. And first of all, why does it even matter? Because the planet is not really habitable still. Like, it was literally nuked into, you know, not oblivion, but nuked to the point of being uninhabitable by humans for long periods of time. I mean, the only reason anybody survives on there for any period of time is radiation, like anti-rad meds. And there's, again, that's another limited supply thing. And who would want to go back to that when there are other options possibly? But yeah, then of course, like the brother Cavill like steps off and he's like, yes, the Cylons have left, guys. They're gone now. We're moving on to greener pastures.
Yeah, to greener pastures. I'd be like, fucker, how do you know that? How do you know so much? And where did you come from? You know? And on top of it,
not Ty. Chief does kind of do that.
Yeah.
Chief is like, he's a Cylon.
Yeah. He's a Cylon, dude. And it's like, and on top of it, it's Dean Stockwell. We know you didn't bring Dean Stockwell in here as just an extra. We all know what he is. You know, I was a big fan of Dean Stockwell. I used to watch Quantum Leap when I was a kid, you know?
Honestly, little before my time, when I was talking to Dean and I actually watched most of these episodes together, and he said something about like, he said kind of what you're saying now, that like, we all knew they wouldn't have brought Dean Stockwell in to just play like this random, you know, priest for a part of an episode. And I was like, would they not? Who's Dean Stockwell? I'm sorry, but I'm, you know, I'm just like just below the age cutoff for like knowing these things.
Yeah,
like,
I was young too though when that show aired. I know that I was still like,
yeah, you're not that much older than me.
No, I was like 13 years old or something like that. You know, like I was young when I was watching that show. But
I also was like, we did not have cable until I was much older because we were poor when I was a kid, and cable was like. That was not a thing that was in the budget. And even if we had cable, like there were things that weren't on cable that were on network TV that we were not allowed to watch. Like there were even after the fact, like my parents didn't let me watch certain cartoons. Like they did not let me watch Ren and Stimpy, you know, because they thought it was anyway. That's neither here nor there. But I did not know who Dean Stockwell was, so like there was no like, oh, they're not going to bring him. Like, I'm not looking at Chief having these conversations with this brother, the original OG brother Cavill that we see, and thinking, what's going to happen here?
Anyway. So the one thing I want to bring up was Kara's solution for not wanting to go back to the farms. Like, I get it. You know, I've had this conversation with many people where I'm like, hey, dude, shit goes south. You know, I shoot you, you shoot me, you know? But then you start thinking about it and you're like, maybe we should just like not do that, because one of us is going to have the kill shot and the other person has to sit there and wait and bleed out. We both can't shoot each other in the face at the same time. You know, there's a
I
good
mean,
chance
I
that whoever,
guess you could if you were both like expert marks people.
and at a good distance, I guess you couldn't do it as close as like
Yeah.
Kara was. Like, there's no way. I'm like, so I get it, but then the part of me is like, it's kind of icky too. But the farms are more icky, so death is probably better. So, but it honestly, at least she had her head in the right place, you know. Where I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, I can get behind that.
Yeah,
Absolutely,
not going back.
yeah, that's first.
All right. So we're going to move on to our next one because this is a little bit of a skip ahead in a way, but not really.
Mm-hmm.
Because unfortunately, Caprica 6 and Sharon did not send out their peace memo in time to stop our third top moment from happening. This occurs in the season 2 the season 2 finale, like actual finale, Lay Down Your Burdens part 2, when Baltar's presidency kicks off with a big bada boom.
Yep.
That being Gina 6 using the nuke that Baltar gifted her to destroy.
You gotta love, it's
Cloud
really
9.
awesome. It's really awesome when you buy a woman a gift and you don't know whether it was the right one or not, but then you see her wearing it later and you're like, oh, damn, that was good. Okay, so the nuke was a good idea.
Only not, because it really fucks Baltar. Like literally, they're like, Baltar, you're president. And then the first major thing that happens is Cloud. And listen, like, this is sad. There's a lot of people on Cloud 9.
Yep.
Cloud 9 was a beautiful ship. It was their only like escape from anything.
Cloud 9, yeah, and Cloud 9 has been a staple in the fleet like from the beginning. So
right, exactly.
We got used to seeing Cloud 9, and we got used to seeing that. And
now we got no more gardens, and that's why I mean that's not why they end up on New Caprica, but also like New Caprica is like, I don't even want to say that it pales in comparison, because that is the understatement of the goddamn millennia.
Oh yeah. All I'm saying is, like,
give me those gardens on Cloud 9.
On Cloud 9, those fake gardens.
over New Caprica any fucking day.
Any day.
Honestly, I would take irradiated regular Caprica over New Caprica.
No, yeah, exactly. Like, let me just, you know what? They have pools on the irradiated Caprica. Let me just have the pools, like, but yeah, like, yeah, if I was Guy's Bolter, I'd be like, oh shit. But then there'd be a part of me of like, hey, I'm a good gift giver. She used the gift I gave her. So,
oh yeah, there were some other gifts that were exchanged right before she blew up Cloud 9 too.
Yes, there was.
Yeah. Now, all of that said, that nuke signature is what eventually leads the Cylons to New Caprica. So, like, oopsies.
Whoops.
Oopsies. Oh, good job, guys. Good job.
Yeah.
Good job, Baltar. You fucked up so much.
Yeah,
so much.
Good job.
So much.
So I noticed that Gina was listening to the victory speech, Baltar's victory speech, before she like nuked herself, So my question is, was she just killing herself because she was just sending a message or something? Or did she do it with the specific intent, knowing that the Cylons would eventually find the signature?
I honestly don't know. And weirdly enough, that's not, if it's something I've thought about, I like previously, I don't remember like ever really digging too deep into it. Because to me, I think what she did always read as like, this is her trauma response. This is her PTSD. Like, she has never really wanted to continue living. And I don't want to even say that Baltar like gave her a reason to live, because he didn't. But is that your phone?
Do you hear my phone?
I hear buzzing. Yeah. I don't want to say that Baltar like gave her a reason to live, because like he didn't really, but he did like help. He gave her the idea of actually enacting her revenge on oh my god, why am I blanking on the Pegasus commander's name? Kane, he did like give her
Mhm.
the idea of like don't just die, like go take revenge, whatever. And then he set her up in a posh space, like gave her the nuke as a promise ring of sorts.
Yep.
I don't know,
Yep.
like
Mhm.
like I guess I've always just kind of put this away as Gina's, like, she's wanted to just end things for a very long time, and this was the way she could do it with a bang. Pardon the very bad like, I don't mean
Yeah.
to make a pun, but like,
Mhm.
how else am I gonna say it? And I think that so, but I don't know though. Like, I don't know. Maybe she was thinking, hey, they've found this planet and they're going to go like inhabit this planet. And
Mhm.
I want to lead my fellow Cylons here to continue their destruction of the human race that has, continued to harm and traumatize me so much. So
Mhm.
yeah, I don't know. And nothing that I've ever read has stated that that's why she was doing it, but that doesn't mean that I could have missed an interview somewhere where
Yeah.
Moore was like, yeah, absolutely. Gina was like, yeah, I want to go out. I want to take as many humans with me as possible. And I know that if I do this, the nuclear signature will draw the other Cylons here eventually. So I don't know.
Yeah. That's the way I guess I kind of always looked at it was, because at first was like the trauma response, right? Like, okay, she just wants to that's the way I've always seen it. And when I did the rewatch, I was like, did she just want to take out as many humans as possible and then lead the Cylons back to where the rest of the humans are in the process? So that way she gets her own sense of like vengeance, I guess, you know? So I don't know.
Well, because also she absolutely could not have known, at least I don't think she could have known that, Caprica 6 and Sharon had formed this little mini alliance where they're then gonna try to use their standing to
Hmm.
convince the other Cylons that they could possibly be at peace with the humans. So
Hmm.
yeah,
Yep.
I mean, yeah,
Yep.
I don't know. Like if anybody's listening, watching this or listening
Hmm.
and has seen or heard something where it's been said that yes, this was in fact Gina 6, like trying to lead the Cylons to New Caprica, please let us know.
Let us know.
Because obviously, I mean, and I've read a lot, especially recently with
Hmm.
these rewatches, and I've never seen it like outright stated that that was the case. But again, doesn't mean it wasn't.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
all right.
So for number 4, we just have to say, congratulations, Lieutenant. Because while it may be a short scene from this set of episodes, we couldn't not highlight Sharon Agathon being sworn into the Colonial Fleet.
Seriously. This happens in oh gosh, it's the first episode of season 3. Well, which one of the first episodes? I don't know. It's either Occupation. I think it happens in Precipice because it's toward the end. So yeah,
Yeah.
it happens in the
Yeah.
precipice portion of precipice portion. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. It happens in the
Mhm.
precipice portion of the season 3 double premiere, I guess.
Mhm.
Um, but I just when we were going back and forth about like what are going to be our top moments, and we were hemming and hawing about quite a few of them, and then kind of I dove in late in the game and I was like, "Fuck, how could I
Mhm.
forget? This is something that is so important." It
Mhm.
to me, it's like it's important on the level or in the same, maybe in the same or similar way as the Caprica 6 Sharon alliance is important because this is now we know that Sharon Agathon is not being like completely accepted by everybody, but this is important in that she does have like Boomer Sharon's memories, and she also is in love with Hilo. She has been helping them in their fight against the Cylons. And even despite the fact that like her baby died, which she does not believe happened, rightfully so.
Mhm.
Uh, like it's time has passed. She's been doing nothing but serving them, even as a prisoner. And now they're saying, here you go. Like you are one of us, in
Mhm.
at least on the official level. And it's
Mhm.
just there's a conversation between her and Adama that comes before that
Mhm.
is very touching too. But just this scene, man. And then afterward, she's with Hilo, and Hilo explains to her that how much they were taught that symbols matter, and how much the uniform means a lot to him. And she agrees. She says it means a lot to her too, and she won't betray it.
Yep.
And this is a lot, and it's really important because she is a Cylon who has now been inducted as a fucking lieutenant in the
Yep.
Colonial Fleet. Like,
Yep.
and it's nice with everything that she's had to fucking go through and deal with, and despite the fact that she's tried to help them at every turn, constantly being
Mhm.
questioned and disbelieved and etc. I mean, God, even when they come back from the rescue mission that we were talking about earlier,
Mhm.
uh Adama's like, take her to the brig. She knew. And she's like, she isn't even given a chance to defend herself or say, no, I didn't.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It was a touching scene that they made her, gave her the rank back, and like did this. However, let me just be the dark cloud in the room for a minute here.
Boo.
So it brings me to another caution that I would have had with this with their decision that they made with this, okay? Can Cylons trigger other Cylons to do things? I know she's not a sleeper anymore, right? But if you remember when she shot Adama, she immediately started asking what had happened, which means that someone turned her on and then turned her off. And they couldn't just say, "Oh, you're a Cylon," and then she's like, "Oh, I have to do my bidding," because if she would have shot Adama, then she could have just been like, "Oh, well, now I'm going to kill myself," or "Now I'm going to do this," because now she's part of Team B now, right? So now she's like, she woke up out of it. She literally had no idea what was kind of going on, even though she did that. So that would be my, I guess, precaution when it comes to Sharon, you know, is just because of that scene from season one, because it's like she kind of did something, like something triggered her. And obviously there was no silence in the room that triggered her, but there was, something that flipped in her brain that had her shoot a Nama. So, and then she came out of it and was like, "Oh my God, I can't believe I did that," and all this kind of stuff. Like, I'd have been like, "Nah," honestly. I love Sharon, but
I mean,
I,
to be honest, my qualms are completely different. I have no
Mhm.
qualms about like that and how it happened and why it happened, because I feel like this Sharon has control over herself because of her relation. Well, maybe not, because I don't want to say because of her relationship with Hilo. I think that this
Mhm.
Sharon has learned to gain control of herself. I think she knows who she is and what she wants to do and what she wants to be, and that is this version of herself.
Mhm.
That said, my qualm from the Adama side of things would be like, I know that baby's still alive, and we lied to her and told her
Yep.
that the baby wasn't alive.
Yep.
And what if she finds out that it is? And that would be because this Sharon has, I mean, look at her reaction, and I'll talk about this
Mhm.
later, but like, look at her reaction to finding out that Hera died.
Yeah.
Yeah, I my qualms would be more about what if she finds out the shitty fucking thing we did
Mhm.
versus
Yeah.
anything that happened with sleeper agent Boomer. I think
Yep.
this Sharon is her own person in every sense, and I don't think that there is. Can she be manipulated by other Cylons? Possibly. I mean, we see Deanna try when this Sharon goes to New Caprica, Sharon Agathon goes to New Caprica, but even then she's like, no, I don't believe you. Fuck you. So, um, but all that said,
Maybe.
I mean, still, it's just her finally, after everything she's done for them and gone through, like being named lieutenant.
Yeah.
Yeah, part of things. Whether or not everybody agrees with it or is going to treat her as such, it's just heartwarming, a little bit
It was, because I want the best for her.
worrisome, but heartwarming.
Yeah, exactly. After you take a few in the chest, you might, it might make you think next time. But no, I mean, I'm happy that they put her back in the fleet. And it was dumb that when she got back, they were just like, "Oh, put her in the brig too." Like, bro.
Oh no, that was earlier. That was earlier. That happened after the new Caprica rescue. So
Oh, okay.
that
Right,
yeah,
right,
that
right,
yeah, that was way earlier.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's time because we have so much more to talk about after our top 5 moments. So I think it's time to go into the I don't even want to say like our number 5 top moment. It's not. We put it last because it's the top one.
Yeah.
To no one's surprise, our final top moment is actually comprised of several awesome occurrences because it is, in fact, the battle for New Caprica. So first and foremost, in all of the ways, part of this top moment, because like we talked about this, we went back and forth over this so much and how we were gonna like include all these things. So we had to make it about the battle as a whole. But first and foremost, in all the ways, the Adama maneuver.
Amen.
I mean,
Amen.
Particularly like I think like I rewatching it, I don't know if I even appreciate like the fucking majesty of what the Adama maneuver is as much as I did the first time I saw it, when they just plummet the Galactica down to New Caprica. Is like brr, and then like they jump out and it just get wrecked.
Yeah, exactly.
Everything gets fucking wrecked. It's so good. It's so good. And who the fuck would have ever thought about this? Well, yeah.
Yes. Adama.
It's so good. It's so fucking oh my God.
I can only imagine that thought process with him. He was just drinking the night before and he's like, "Hey, wait a minute, I got a great idea. I'm just gonna jump inside the atmosphere. Yeah, why can't I do that?" They'll never see it coming, which is absolutely true.
Well, they didn't. Yeah.
Yeah. So no, absolutely. You got to use your ship exactly as you're not supposed to use it to really catch them. I mean, Cylons are robots in the end, right? They study what you're supposed to do with something and they're like, they don't take in like the human factor to it. And that fucking move was very much a human fucking factor,
Yeah. I mean, I think part of just going back to like the Cylons will believe whatever the computers tell them. They believed that the Galactica and the Pegasus were both approaching when it was just a bunch of fucking drones.
That's it. I thought that was great. And you know what I love is
this is a really great sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but this is a really great fucking metaphor for like AI right now. Like,
oh yeah.
Hey, you're like, AI, please create the Battlestar and the Pegasus, or I'm sorry, the Galactica and the Pegasus on the Dratus, and AI is like, here's some drones.
Exactly.
But like some people just believe what they see anyway.
Yes, exactly.
So your thoughts on the Adama maneuver? Because I mean, I have nothing to say other than like, whoa, holy fuck, wow, love it.
Yeah, no, this thing was literally, it was a chef kiss right out of the box, thinking like it was just, and the music that's playing to it, right? Because that is one song. It is an 8-minute song on the soundtrack, 7 or 8 minute song that I still listen to this day if I'm going to go do something that is making me anxious, right? Like that's what I listen to, because it's so powerful and it's all these drums and all this stuff. And you see these guys and they're just kind of like huddled down behind a fence and, and they're shooting, they're kind of getting shot at from every direction. And all of a sudden they look up and you just see this fucking like thing just falling like it's on fire. And then one of my favorite little things was how calm Hot Dog was. Hot Dog gets in the tube and he's just like, yeah, but he's like, all right, ready to go. And he's like, well, this is going to be interesting. And he just like, and then the shot they used that just showed like part of the Galactica and you see the Vipers coming out and they're getting hit with like the atmospheric, fire and stuff like that. And it was just like, dude, that is so awesome, man. And then they're just sitting there and you can hear, and it's funny because you can hear like the difference of the Viper engine versus the Cylon engine. So you hear them in the background and the chief looks up and you see him start firing. He tells everyone to stop shooting, and they blow open the fucking guard tower. And then the other guy's like, oh, I got, or the gate. They blow open the gate. And then the one is flying through. He's like, oh, I got the guard tower. And you see that stupid Cylon up there with his little handguns, like, and all of a sudden this missile just like plows right through him. I'm like, yes. I mean, when we watched this, we got up off the couch and we were yelling. We were like, yeah. Like we were so invested in this, man. But dude, perfect.
Yeah. No, I mean, and yeah, and also just think about when this was made. Like we're talking, what year did season 3 come out? 2006?
6, I think it was 2006.
2006 or 2007. Either way, whoa, holy crap! Like the how much things have like improved, quote unquote, since then. I still don't know that this could have looked better. Honestly, I don't.
No, but that's the thing about, like, I would say 90% of all the special effects that deal in space with this show, aside from a few episodes that I felt like they kind of got weird with the special effects, like it still holds true. Like, I mean, this thing, it still looks great. 20 years later, I'm like, this thing still looks fucking amazing.
Yep. Absolutely agree. Well, and then of course, the unexpected, yet let's be real, also totally expected, Pegasus coming in for the save, because the Galactica blasts down into the atmosphere, like jumps back out. It does not go well for the Galactica. And then they thought there were like 2 Cylon base stars, and now there are 4. And they're like, Adama's like, fuck, we can't handle. I mean, he doesn't say fuck, but
it's the way he says it.
Yeah, we can't handle 4. And he's like, it's been a pleasure serving with you guys. And then prepare.
Well, it's like that camera angle, it's the camera angle where it's like going away from it.
Like the Pegasus just comes in for the save, and Adama had told Lee, like, wait, I think it was 18 hours. 18 hours again. What is with 18 hours in this show?
I have no idea.
It's always 18 hours. Wait 18 hours. And if you haven't heard from me, if I haven't returned, come back for me. And Lee was like, yeah, fuck that. I'm not letting this happen that way. Like it's not going to work out. And so the Pegasus comes in for the save. And I think like the shot too, because, Adama is like, we can't handle 4 base stars. And he's like, he tells everybody, it's been a pleasure to serve with you. The music is just so fucking hauntingly beautiful. When it, like, the cameras pull, or maybe it's not cameras, because I'm assuming it's like CGI at this point. It pulls away, and you see the Galactica like on fire in several places, and the base stars closing in on it, and it's getting farther and farther away. And then the Pegasus, it's like honestly, it's like when you see the Star Destroyers in Star Wars that just like creep onto the screen, but they're evil, and this is not. And the Pegasus is just like, but
it does it better, right? Because it's like, I think what Battlestar always got correct in space battles was like the shaky camera thing, right? So the thing's shooting, and you see it kind of, the camera's kind of doing this, and as it's passing by, you just see like the fucking like license plate lights on the side of the Pegasus where it says Pegasus, and everyone's like, yeah, you're like, fucking yeah,
I again, like, the best part about this part of the battle was the fact that it really was like, I mean, I'll be honest, even rewatching it and knowing what's going to happen, I was like getting choked up, like getting a little bit choked up when Adama's like, it's been great serving with y'all. That's not paraphrasing, masterfully paraphrasing here. But again, just that fucking hauntingly beautiful music as the Galactica is just like moving away from you, and the base stars surrounding it. Oh my God, it's just, this is why we couldn't make only the Adama maneuver our last top moment, because this whole battle is a fucking top moment. Really, possibly, like, this might be my top moment from like the whole series, gotta be honest.
Like battle wise and how like triumphant it was. Absolutely. I mean, absolutely. This scene, probably had me the most excited. Everything else, I think, was just more of like mysterious, I guess, right? Because there's a lot of weird things that happen where you're like, oh, that's kind of a mystery. That's kind of interesting.
Mm.
Definitely didn't lose my interest. But when it came to like action packed, like, oh my God, I just wet myself. Like, like this Exodus 1 and 2 is like, that's where it's at. That is absolutely where it's at.
Also, we have a comment from somebody watching. The battle was like a classic broadside of like old actual like wooden ships.
Oh
It
yeah.
actually like
Mm-hmm.
old wooden ships in
Mm-hmm.
ye old actual Earth, or is it ye new
You
actual Earth when it comes
ye
to
new
Battlestar?
actual Earth.
But yes, no, it was just
That's a good point.
so.
Yeah, because it wasn't just like it was just these two ships circling around each other, trying to like, and they're shooting their cannons, like, yeah, and if they had, absolutely. I definitely can see the comparison to that. Absolutely.
But yeah, uh okay. So did you have any other thoughts on? Oh wait, yes, you do. You want to talk about your
Yes.
thoughts on the Pegasus coming in for the save?
Yes, the grand entrance. Now look, guys, let's face it. If you watched this show as I did when it was airing, week per week when it came out,
Blah blah blah,
blah
gatekeeper.
blah blah, gatekeeper. Actually, okay. So, because we had to struggle. There was no binge watching back then. You couldn't
There's
binge
no binge
watch things.
watching anymore anyway. Let's be
No,
real.
yeah, no. But like, we had to wait for these episodes in like the next week and then the week after and the week, and sometimes it was 6 months, sometimes it was 9 months. It was fucking terrible. But the way that this show kind of conditioned us was that, and the way that the show had unfolded, there was never a 100% chance that they weren't going to destroy the Battlestar Galactica. Okay. With the people that they killed that we thought that were going to be around forever, and the people who turned out bad that we thought were not going to be bad, right? They always kept us on the edge of our seat. So as this scene was happening, as the pullback was happening, me and my friends who were watching it, we went silent. And we're like, oh my God, they're going to destroy the fucking Galactica. And it's like, and then I'm thinking in my head, well, no, they kind of set it up to continue the show because now the Pegasus has the fleet. And now we have Baby Dama who's at the wheel now. So now the show could technically keep going even though there's no Galactica. So the Galactica really doesn't have to be there like on a technical sense or anything. The Galactica doesn't have to be there. It's it can just not be there. So no, it was and when the Pegasus showed up, I was like, oh God, mercy. Like, thank you. Thank you. Like,
Yeah, this is one of those shows that I'm both like disappointed that I didn't watch, because I want to say I watched the last season, or maybe it was only, I think maybe it was only the second half of season 4 that I
mhm,
watched live.
mhm,
So, and I had friends who were watching it live the entire time, but it's one of those shows where it's like I'm both glad and mad that I didn't watch it live, because
mhm.
oh my God, having to wait a week between
Just to
Exodus
find
Part
out.
1 and Exodus Part 2, especially, oh my God,
No,
no,
it's
no, thank
terrible. Yeah.
you.
See, and the thing is that if you pull out, like, if someone goes and they say, "Well, I'm gonna watch Battlestar Galactica," they've never watched it, right? And they just scroll through and they look at season 4. Well, if there's 4 seasons, the Galactica is still around. So I know in the scene, the Galactica is not going to get destroyed. But when we were watching it, that show
Uh,
just had us on the end of at the edge of our seat that we didn't know. Like, they're going to kill anybody at any moment. Like, we're all going to fuck. Like, the panic that they were inducing in show with characters was the same panic that we were feeling as real people watching it, because we have no idea. We like this character, but who knows? They might be dead in the first 10 minutes of the next episode. Like, we had no idea. So when they did that,
I mean, I'll be honest, I will say this, I was not spoiled for anything. Like, even though I got to watch the first like 3.5 seasons or whatever, the episodes back to back to back, I was never spoiled for anything.
mhm,
So that would have pissed me off though. Like,
yeah,
that would have pissed me off to have known ahead of time. Like,
mhm,
I I don't know. Like, we've never said like all spoilers, but
mhm,
I feel like duh. We've
yeah,
told you guys we're rewatching this.
no, exactly,
Oh
exactly.
man. All right. Any last thoughts on the Pegasus? coming in to save the day.
It was a risky ass move by Baby Dama, but like it paid off, you know.
Baby Dama.
Baby Dama, you know, and it was smart too because when he came in too, I was like, oh, this is awesome. I'm like, but where the fuck is the fleet, you know? And he's like, oh, he left his fucking Vipers to like guard the fleet, and I'm like, holy shit. And then before I get onto the continuation of that, let's just move on to the next one because I think that's gonna blend into the next one.
Yeah, because finally, when it comes to this show and this battle especially, sacrifices must be made. And in this case, that sacrifice was the Pegasus itself.
Mhm.
And I mean, I'm just gonna say, like, poor Lee, because Lee is like, I finally got command. I got
Nope.
I went soft on my command. And now, like, I like, yes, I've rescued the Galactica. I've rescued like kind of everybody in this case, let's be real. But the Pegasus has taken more hits than it can stand just to save the Galactica, and now the best way for us to go out is to take out an entire base star with our entire Battlestar. And like, it's sad when he says goodbye, he says thank you to the ship. Like, I listen, whenever somebody puts that sort of like like making the thing a person, you know, and in this case, it really has been for Lee, especially. Like, maybe I think maybe not, and I don't know, correct me if you think differently, but the Pegasus had never felt to me like personified the way the Galactica was.
No. The Galactica was just more of like a classic vehicle, and the Pegasus was like a new vehicle. New vehicles are great, but no one's going to care about them in 25 years. The Galactica was like a classic, you know?
Well, and two, like the Galactica, we've been with the Galactica since the beginning. The Pegasus is not new, but it's new-ish. But also, like, Lee, you know, like, put yourself in Lee's shoes. This has been his ship, you know, like his home. And just he has to say, he's like, goodbye, and he says thank you, and then he, you know, they exit stage left and and the Pegasus just pow, like right into that base star. And like, R.I.P. Pegasus. We hardly knew ye, but Apollo, Lee, Adama knew ye very well, and he will miss you. And he will miss you.
He'll miss you greatly. Yeah. Pegasus being sacrificed. It was just, look, and when the Pegasus comes in and it starts shooting at that first base star, it fucking destroys it. It just fucking like splits it in half. Like, it just didn't even think about it. And when I was watching this, and we're all in a rage at this point because we're just all excited, I was like, dude, if they found 2 more battle stars, the war would be over. Because those base stars, they look cool, they're weird and stuff like that, but those things are not as resilient as battle stars. I mean, that Pegasus blew through that thing like it was nothing. And then, are we talking about the smashing part already? Or am I jumping ahead here?
No, yes. It
okay, yes. So
Hulk smash.
Hulk smash. So they're doing this, you know, and when Baby Adama is saying, take us right into the center, I'm thinking, oh, he's going to replace where the Battlestar is at, right? Or Galactica is at. He's going to get in the center of those and take the shots while they take off. But that's not what he was talking about at all. He was going straight for the heart on that thing, you know? So he goes there, and it's like such a beautiful scene. They're getting out. It's like you said, he says, thank you. Everything is on fire. Everything is like, and the music is just reaching this apex, you know, and you see the Pegasus flying, half of it's on fire, and you see the Raptors coming out at the last minute and jumping, and it's just like, dude, and when it plows into that fucking base star and just fucking explodes, it was so glorious. And the pieces that blew off destroyed the other 2 base stars. And I love that, like, the one that they showed is like, it was the one of the hangar sides of it, and it says Pegasus on it, and you can see it, and it smashes into that base star. I was like, yes.
That's what they get for making their ships a pointy.
Exactly. That's what you get, man, But that was magnificent, And
We
the,
got we
like
have we have a question real quick. Do we think
okay.
Apollo should have gone down with his ship?
Uh hmm. No. I mean, if everybody's off, they're allowed to leave the ship, right? Technically.
Yeah.
Like in
Yeah.
in, in maritime whatever, like that's you have to go down with your ship. I don't think he had to go down with his ship. Um
I think that if he had, don't get me wrong, I think that for sure it would have made a huge impact if he had, but the thing is they still had a lot of story to tell
yeah.
with Leah Dama. Like and that's why I don't think he should have. Would it have
Yeah.
had a huge impact?
Oh
Absolutely.
yeah,
But
absolutely.
I
It
don't
would
I
have
don't
shaped,
think
yeah,
he
it would have
should have
changed.
gone down with it because there's so much that happens after that. And granted, I think at this point they were kind of they knew the eventual end, but not
Mhm.
necessarily how they would get there. But I
Yeah.
think a lot of how they got there is due to some and or a lot of his storyline. So yeah, like
Mhm.
would it have made a huge impact? Yes. Do I think he should have? No, because I think that would have changed the course of the show as we know it. And I
Yeah.
love the show as we know it.
Yeah, especially later down the road because he has some really pivotal parts in the
Mm,
next few seasons. Like I feel like he has more of an important role in the later seasons than he does in the first. Because in the first, he's more of just Adama's kid, you know.
mm.
But I think that as the show progresses, he kind of develops into this kind of his own kind of pivotal character, which is really important. So yeah, it would have changed the show. It would. I don't think it would have made it any better or worse. Honestly, I think it would have just went in a different direction.
And as much as we sometimes find things to like poke at and
Hmm.
make fun of or whatever, like obviously we would not be doing this if we didn't fucking love this show as is. So
Exactly. So the last thing I want to bring up is just so the Pegasus sacrificing itself is not a new thing for old Ronald Moore, old Ronnie Moore. All right, dude. He was one of the main writers for Star Trek D Space Nine, right? And how does he introduce one of the main antagonists of Deep Space Nine, which is the Jemadar, right? They were the warrior race of people, the genetically altered people, right? They get the Odyssey, which is a Galaxy class starship. You have to remember the Next Generation was on the air at the same time as this. So we saw that ship and we're like, wow, that's just like the Enterprise. That's one of the Federation flagships. And the Jemadar says, we're going to show you how dedicated we are. And they take one of their ships and smash it into it and blow it up. And everyone watching that episode was like, oh my God, like what? There's a lot of like, so I had the same feeling with like the Pegasus thing here. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm kind of seeing a pattern here. And actually, as we go on, there's going to be a few times that I'm going to recite back to Deep Space Nine because there's at least two other main
oh, you
things.
already have a couple times as well. There's
Have I?
definitely
Yeah,
I
yeah. I
mean, I
mean,
never watched Deep
mhm,
Space Nine. I'll be real. I also watched like very little of
mhm,
Next Generation. I'm
yeah,
not a Star Trek person.
yeah. Some people are into
You
it.
can read about it on my blog.
Yeah. But yeah, so since Ronald Moore was a writer on the Next Generation also, and he was one of the big writers for Deep Space Nine. And
Mm,
so there's a lot of similarities in some of the story, in particular in some of the story, and then some things that you see. The fact that, oh yeah, one of the things I did bring up was the fact that the enemy can be anybody. And they look like everybody else, and it was like that weird paranoia. He does a good job in bringing in this like paranoia and just bringing this like extreme when it comes to things like the Pegasus. The Pegasus could have sat there and just fought, but they wanted a decisive victory here. So he's like, I'm going to sacrifice the ship to like decimate these other base stars. He's a great writer. He's a fantastic fucking writer. I love his stuff.
all right. So I think it's time for us to talk about some insights.
Insights.
Yeah, some insights. And as I have mentioned in our previous BSG episodes, while we cover this show, I'm going to refer to any Easter eggs or bloopers that I mention as Dean cites, because Dean, my partner, knows way more about this series than I ever could. And he won't stop pointing things out to me. And I've long ago lost track of what I knew before I knew him. But I did give Manny a couple of these Dean cites just so that it's not me reading all of these, because there's a lot actually for these episodes. We've had very few in a couple of our previous arcs, but for this one there's a lot. So I'm going to start the Dean slates by saying or by mentioning that they wanted to do a Cylon centric episode, and originally it was going to be about the Cylons staging a raid to steal information about Earth. Sorry, that's a Lilo and Stitch pronunciation. I had to. But the writers, Ronald D. Moore, they couldn't really figure out a way to make it work. And so that Cylon centric episode became Downloaded instead, which I think is like I think they did right there, because who needs, because I think that the reference was that they wanted to do like a Nazi style like raid sort of thing, and no one needs that, guys. Another storyline that was explored and eventually abandoned was that instead of Roslin facilitating the rehoming,
that is a choice of words.
Hera, I chose that word, I'm sorry, but they call, like, Roslin refers to Hera as it. Like, anyway, so like instead of Roslin facilitating, the rehoming of Hera, the original plan was that they were going to have Baltar, Gina 6, and Deanna Beers work together to kidnap Hera. Now, that does sort of eventually come about, because it in Exodus Part 2, Maya, R.I.P. Maya. I'm sorry, like she seemed fucking lovely. Poor Maya. She died in Exodus Part 2. Died, I guess, protecting Hera, because she died like with Hera like in her arms, like bundled under her. And Caprica 6, Baltar, and Deanna Beers find Hera alive. And they take her. So it did evolve into that, maybe. I actually couldn't find any information on it evolving into that, but that's, you gotta assume, because like, they explored this storyline of them of Baltar, Gina 6, and Deanna Beers kidnapping Hera, and then it turns into Caprica 6, Baltar, and Deanna Beers kidnapping Hera, because it is kidnapping, because they do just take her. Like, yes, Maya's dead, but
my baby now.
So next up,
Tyrell's speech at the end of Lay Down Your Burdens Part 2 was actually based on a real-life speech given by civil rights activist Mario Savillo in 1964. Yeah, that is absolutely true. I do remember that. I thought I didn't pay attention in history class, but I did, because when Tyrell started doing that, I was like, hey, I know what that is. I know exactly what that is. So that was cool, and I like that, how it was, I don't know. The fact that
they very lightly paraphrased it. Like, when I say very lightly paraphrased it, I mean it was very close to the original speech. They got permission from his widow to use it, which is honestly, like, that's nice. They didn't just steal what is essentially a public address, and I don't even know what the laws are about that, but they asked permission and got it, which was nice.
There's also a Resistance member named Charlie introduced early in season 3. He later becomes a bartender, but the same actor also played the Armistice Station officer in the opening scene of the miniseries. Oh yeah.
Yeah. And I don't like, and I'll be honest, like, neither Dean or I knew like whether the bartender he becomes. I think it's Charlie, the Resistance fighter, who becomes a bartender, but also played this entirely separate character. So that's fun. Apparently, a lot of people asked Ronald D. Moore whether the Cylon occupation of New Caprica was inspired by the situation in Iraq at the time, but that was not the case. They took inspiration from Vichy France, Vietnam, which we have referenced several times previous, because I really feel like there's a lot of Vietnam parallels in this series. The West Bank, which is also a very interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting.
Yeah, funny. And even the Romans occupying Gaul. And then last but not least, Jake the dog, the dog who they like flip over his bowl to signify that there's a secret message in the drawer somewhere.
Yeah.
He was named after Ronald D. Moore's own Australian Shepherd,
Oh.
who had also been named after a previous Jake the dog that Moore had. And also, I hear Jake the dog and all I think is Adventure Time. But also I see Jake the dog on screen in this show, and he's an Australian Shepherd, and I have an Australian Shepherd mix, and he doesn't really look like that. Like, he's black and white, but he's got perk ears instead of laid. I don't know. I love my dog. My dog's name is Sokka. He's named after the character from Avatar: The Last Airbender, and I love Australian Shepherds. Okay, I think it's time to move on to our personal insights. So first up, Manny.
First off, this is an interesting one for me, because this is like one of those stupid things that I shouldn't think about, but I think about regularly, is the raptor jumping into the mountain, right? It's messed up. Not how I'd want to die. But how would that work, though? Does the raptor get crushed, or does the mountain explode? I mean, 2 points of matter are not really going to occupy the same point in space, right? One's going to crush the other, or it's going to explode. It's a cool concept, but they were getting the beacon also, right? When they were like, oh, we know where it's at. It's inside the mountain. So the beacon was still there, leading me to believe that it did not get crushed. But then how does that work?
Just to like clarify it, when you say jumped into the mountain, you mean it comes out of like hyperspace or whatever they call it.
Yeah. Well, because because they were like jumping right in front of the planet. And what happened, at least the way I saw it, was that they jumped inside the mountain. Their coordinates were off and they reappeared inside the mountain, right?
Yeah.
But I think that would cause a really, really large explosion, or it would just crush or disintegrate the actual raptor, which in turn you wouldn't be getting a beacon, you wouldn't be getting anything. It would have just vanished, period.
Yeah.
Look, this is the most nitpicky I'm going to get probably about anything in this show. Okay. But it's one of those things that just never left my head, because it's like, is there just a room now where everyone is hanging out inside the mountain? No one died. They're just like hanging out in there, and they're just like, well, shit, now we're stuck in this mountain. We can't get out.
Oh, God.
Or does it, I would just think that, if you punch a cake, right? The cake goes in all directions.
Yeah, but a cake is not a mountain.
Cake is not a mountain. So which one is stronger? Is the raptor stronger, or is the mountain stronger, right?
Quote of the episode: a cake is not a mountain.
A cake is not a mountain.
Oh, God. Don't ever watch the TV show From.
Yeah.
It's not the same, but there was a situation where somebody appears somewhere they didn't expect, and it's really gross. Anyway, okay, so my first insight is about Hera's birth, and oh my God, like, she's born premature, and Sharon and Hilo are just so like fucking adorable about like they're holding her little fingers. And I've had several friends who have had babies born premature, and I know just both the beauty and the stress of like that situation where all you can do is like hold your baby's, put your finger through like into the incubator. My God. And then like Sharon's heart-wrenching reaction to being told that Hera died. Like, it's so visceral and so hard to watch, but still somehow so good. I also just gotta give a Doc Coddle shout out here. One of our faves, because he was totally against this whole fucking thing, but somehow he was the one that had to tell them that their baby died, and Sharon just like attacks him, and poor Doc Coddle. Doc Coddle does not deserve justice for Doc Coddle.
No,
honestly,
dude. Exactly.
such a fucking great guy, such a great character. Did not deserve this shit. Like
No.
I don't blame Sharon for it. I blame other people. Which brings me to like my side note about this, which is at least we got that amusing, even though maybe it shouldn't be, back and forth between Rosalind and Baltar, where Rosalind, after Hera is born, Rosalind asks, and I'm using her words, paraphrased, what they're going to do with it being Hera. If it survives. And Baltar is like, what are you suggesting, that we throw it out the airlock? And Rosalind just eyeballs him. And she's like, I don't make suggestions. If I wanted to throw it out of an airlock, I would. Like, whoa, girl. I mean, listen, you're not wanting to throw it out of an airlock. That's good.
Yeah.
But also that Rosalind just being like, whatever, dude. If I do not make suggestions. I would just do it if that was the thing I was suggesting. Like, fuck you, Baltar.
Well, and she kind of demonstrated that though, didn't she? With the first like Leoben. Remember when Leoben first showed up? And she all plays the pity thing with him, like, oh, like whatever, yeah, and it's gonna be fine. And then she's like, throw him out of the airlock. And like didn't hesitate. It was like the first time you really saw the like Laura claws come out, you know, where you're like, wow, she's gonna do it.
Yeah, but there's a big difference between Leoben, like proven bad Cylon, and a fucking innocent preemie baby. Ooh.
Look, in Laura's defense, she didn't throw the baby out of the airlock. A matter of fact,
she didn't, and she never wanted to. That was not her, you know.
I mean, they went through the trouble of faking the baby's death, right? And not even keeping the baby for science. They just wanted the baby to be raised by other people and kind of see what happens, right? Because they could have just said like, well, the baby's dead, but now we're going to keep it for science. And we're going to like jab it and poke it and find out what it can do, you know, which is like ridiculous. Like it's a fucking baby, bro. You know, like I don't understand because I mean, like I would have just told Boomer, like, look, you're going to keep the baby, but let's just tell everybody that the baby died because of what it is. And we'll need you to keep the fact that you have the baby a secret. I think Sharon would have totally have been down for that. She'd have been like, yeah, absolutely. I'll do it. You know, like, but the way they went about it just goes to show that they didn't trust, you know, Sharon regardless. So that's why.
Yep. So the next insight I have is that everything with Leoben and Starbuck is gross, and I hate it. Thanks.
Ew, gross. He's so gross.
I'm just gonna kick this off with, in case I feel like anybody who's listening to this, knowing that it's a rewatch thing and we're doing all spoilers, must know this, but maybe not. The apartment where Leoben is holding Kara captive looks so much like a copy of hers because these scenes were shot in the same place as her apartment in season 1. And I believe that they like purposefully did that because they wanted, like, they're trying to, or Leoben is trying to make Kara feel like at home. It's fucking gross. Like his whole thing where he's like, I want you to tell me you love me and like make out with me and blah, 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 blah. And he brings her this like, oh, don't even get me fucking started on the fake daughter shit.
Oh God. Yeah.
Like,
no.
I mean, I knew from the start that was not real. And I think that, like, I assumed it wasn't real in the beginning because I was like, no, that little girl looks too old. But then I wasn't like thinking about the actual timeline, which is like Starbuck getting her ovaries removed or whatever the fuck happened on New Caprica, the farm. And then like it's been X amount of time. And then they've been on New Caprica for a year before the Cylons even, or I can't remember. They've been on New Caprica 4 months before the Cylons show up, and then they're there a year before Exodus, or whatever it is. Like they've been on New Caprica for like a year and a half total. So like, yeah, sure, this could technically be her daughter, but like we all fucking knew it wasn't her daughter, right?
Yeah.
And
I didn't think for a second it was her daughter.
I feel
Absolutely not.
fucking bad for Starbuck that it was presented to her as such. And like, I think that her, her hatred for like Leoben was just so strong, and this situation for good fucking reason was so strong that she was like, no, absolutely not. And then the little girl like gets hurt, and I still don't believe that Leoben didn't have something to do with that. It just, the whole thing is fucking gross. And also at the end of the day, dude, Leoben, when she kisses you and she's like, yeah, I love you, blah blah blah, like, what? You can't believe that. Like, how desperate are you, my dude?
Exactly.
How fucking desperate are you? Like, what? I don't know. Like, do you have any thoughts on this? Because the whole thing just angers me. And it leads to like so much darkness in Starbuck.
It is
more. She already had so much darkness, and now it's like 10 times more.
Yeah, look, like, it's really fucking creepy. Like, if you're gonna get a girl to like you, these are all the ways that you don't do it. You know what I'm saying? It's like, just don't do these things. It's simple. If you want to like attract like a woman, I have a great idea. Don't hold her captive, right? That's an easy one. Just don't hold her captive. Don't tell her that this baby's hers because you happened to steal one of her ovaries a few years prior. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't do these things. Like, you're asking to get knifed, which he does a few times. You know, it's like, I don't know. It was fucking terrible. And that kind of flows into what I'm going to say next, right? To another one of my insights here is that why is it that for the Cylon women that they introduce up until this point, they all have a level of charm and like welcomeness to them. You know, they'll play a character that is welcoming or something, right? Like, you know, Boomer is a very
at first anyway with
at
Deanna.
first. Yeah, at first. Deanna at first, like, okay, yeah, she's the little spunky one. She's strong-willed or whatever. That's cool. Yeah, that's awesome. It's great. You got Boomer, who just seems like a very like I don't know how to say it, like an everyman's kind of person, right? She's just somebody you hang out with, you have drinks with. We're like, fuck yeah, you know, she can fucking take it as much as she can give it, right? Cool fucking person. And then you have, you know, Caprica, right? Where she's very pretty, she's beautiful, and you can see when she plays like someone who's like a nerd or whatever that they were trying to like do, like, yeah, you still took her seriously. Like, there was just something about her. Yeah,
it's very she's all that.
It's very she's all that, you know.
Put her hair,
Yeah.
wait, dye her hair darker blonde, put it in a ponytail, and put on some glasses, and she's just a pretty nerd.
She's just a pretty nerd, you know. And when they make her up, they just slightly use makeup, just a little bit, you know. But so every one of the female characters have something kind of going for it. Every male Cylon that they introduced is fucking creepy and disturbing. Every single one. There wasn't one of them, like any of them. The fucking news reporter guy. Look, the news reporter guy, I wanted to throw him out of the airlock after he said the first sentence. I was just like, oh God, this guy. He's one of these corporate weirdos or something, you know.
So, sorry, finish.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I think it's all on both ends. It's all very stereotypical, right?
Mm-hmm.
We've got the sexy one.
Yep.
Caprica or 6. We've got the I'm not like other girls, Sharon.
Yep.
We've got the I'm every I don't know what I'd call Deanna. Maybe I'm everybody's friend. She's a little, well, I don't know. No, she
would be kind of like,
no,
the
actually I think
outgoing girl.
she's like the pushy, like I'm too pushy for a woman one.
Yeah.
And then for the men, we've got like Brother Cavill, who like at first just seems like he's trying to, I mean, Brother Cavill's a weird one, but oh my God, what's his name? The farm guy, the farm Cylon. I'm
the
blanking
doctor,
on,
yeah.
I'm blanking on his name right now, but he's just creepy to be creepy. Leoben is just, he's like creepy ex who's like too obsessed with you. Like they're all stereotypes. Yeah, and I don't know like if I want to judge like the show or the writing or whatever on that or not, because I think the point of it is that they were creating humanoid Cylons in these stereotypical roles, right?
I get that, but why couldn't they make a charming guy? I mean, even Caprica's charming, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, but
Boomer's
also
charming.
I'll be this is a conversation I was having with Dean today. It's like every woman has a man. Every woman has had an experience in her life where a man, at the very least, but usually several men, have been creepy as fuck. And I don't know. I don't know what Ronald D. Moore or the writers were trying to like portray with this, but I honestly, as a woman, I don't disagree that all the dudes are creepy because if the Cylons were creating their humanoid versions based on human stereotypes, then they've got and I guess Cavill, he's not really creepy at first. He's just the priest. And the reporter guy, I don't remember enough about him from before we knew him as a Cylon, but so I can't really speak
He was
to
just like a dweeb. He was just kind of like this dweebish kind of guy.
Yeah. Well, and even Leoben, we don't know what Leoben was before he got obsessed with Starbuck. Like, so but for me, I see it as they were trying to create humanoid Cylons, and so they went with stereotypes. And I believe so with Brother Cavill, they went with the religious one. With Leoben, they or with the fucking doctor. What is he, a 4?
A 4, I think. I
think
think
he's a 4. Like
he's a 4.
He's the smart doctor one. With Leoben, they were going for I don't know. I think they were going for stereotypes, and they just well, actually, how many women wrote for this series versus how many men? Because I think that actually would pinpoint why they got the stereotypes of women so correct, but they were so fucking, because if there were not enough female writers on this show, they would never have gotten the actual stereotypes of men correct. So that's my only thought there.
I'm okay with the guys being there as they are, because they are stereotypes. But I'm just saying, if Cylons are there and they're there to help deceive, right? Caprica has a really good thing going for her because she's very pretty, right? And she's very beautiful, and she talks really good and all this stuff. And it would be hard to say no to a woman like that showed a guy interest, right? But maybe that's also part of the stereotypical writing also, right? That any guy would fall for a tall, leggy blonde or whatever, right? But, maybe that's part of it also. But it would make sense that they would use someone like Caprica to seduce Guy's Baltar, right? Because they're honing in on what his weaknesses are,
Well, and then in that sense, it makes sense that they send not like all other girls Sharon in to seduce or into the fleet originally as Boomer, and then into seduce Hilo, who isn't going to fall for just any girl. I this is probably a way deeper conversation that like needs to be an episode entirely in and of itself, because I do feel that this probably has to do with the number of male versus female writers on the show. And this isn't, I'm not shitting on what you're saying by any means, of course, but I do think that it does speak to the fact that they got the female stereotypes. So like the male gaze is on those female stereotypes. the dude Cylons are off. All of them are off.
Yeah.
So, now that said, one thing I'm adding this in as like an extra because oops, I forgot to add it into our notes. I forgot to talk about Lee Adama going soft.
Yes.
I forgot to put Lee Adama going soft in our notes.
Yep.
And so I'm holding my phone because I'm referring to my own notes on my phone, but there's this whole thing where yes, Lee has gained weight. Okay. Like, first of all, he is not fat by any means. He is dead. He's like slightly bigger than dad bod. Like
it's just dad bod.
He's just not he's just not like military fitness dude anymore because he's been living on a ship. They've had like no drills, no, whatever. But Adama calls Lee out for going soft and even like calls him a fat ass, which is like rude, dude. I'm sorry. Like, I know that's your son, but
I think he was trying.
Because that's your son, maybe don't call him a fat ass.
Yeah. So just kind of like coming from that kind of parental concept, not that I treat my kids like that, but just from the way that I grew up, that was just, to me, in the way I see it, it was a clear, like, tough love kind of situation where he's letting him know, like, yeah, you got soft, you know, and then you get to hear Edward James almost say, get your fat ass out of my office, you know, and it's just like, oh my God, you know, but
I mean, I do think that Adama was focusing on him getting soft in terms of like his command, his duties, etc. I don't think it was all about his weight.
No,
but I also love how it was, you know, like love maybe isn't the right word. I also wanted to point out how yes, Adama is being really harsh with Lee about this whole situation, and then Lee goes back to the Pegasus and he's with Dee, who is now his wife, by the way.
Yeah.
And he's like, my dad called me soft. Can you believe that? And she is like, she agrees, but she, pardon the pun again, softens her agreement by saying like, it's not about your weight. It's that you have like gone off like your duties. Like you're not paying attention. You're not like, you know what I mean? Like it's just such a great, it's such a great dichotomy between Adama, the father, who is a military man, talking to his son, who he loves, but sees as a military man, and Dee being like, yeah, man, like, I know you've gained weight, but that's not what this is about. And no matter what your dad said, that's not what the issue is. And I love that she approaches it with such Dee deserved better. My God. I can't. That's all I gotta say. Dee deserved better.
Dee deserved better. You know, and I think when they made Adama, you know, heftier, it wasn't a like, oh, you're fat, look at you, or like whatever.
Yeah.
I think that was the best way that they can show the audience that he had kind of not putting in the same effort that he used to put in a very short amount of time, right? Because they had to kind of build this new character, which is like the new Adama, pretty much. They had to build him really quickly. So all you needed to know was that he was not, the way I saw it was like, it's not that he's fat, it's that he's not in shape like he used to be. Meaning that he just kind of gave up. You know, he's not working out, he's not doing anything, you know?
Yeah, and our commenter has said it could have been to show contrast on leadership styles and how they look at the situation on New Caprica. Adama is still set on getting his people back, and Lee has kind of forgotten what the mission is. I don't disagree with that. But I also, you know, like you said, listen, it's been, so let's say a year and 4 months since the fleet jumped away, right? I don't know about you, but if I just sat on my ass and did nothing for a year and 4 months, like, I would gain a lot of weight.
And not only that is that if you're somebody who works out and you get ripped and you
Yeah.
get big, right? It's like I used to lift weights when I was younger, like pretty like religiously. But I never bulked up. All my friends were doing like the protein shakes to get really big. And I said, I don't want to do that. I just wanted to get a little ripped because I know that one day I'm not going to want to do this. And it's going to be hard to like drop it because all of that mass that I've gained is just going to turn into fat. And my body's still going to be wanting to eat 15,000 calories a day and like all this kind of stuff. So the fact that he got bigger like makes perfect sense, And yeah, and I
Oh,
definitely don't.
absolutely. Especially they're living in space.
Yeah.
Like, they can only, like, deal with gravity, like, so much, and
Hmm.
there's also that added, like,
Hmm.
scientific aspect of it where it's way easier to gain that weight when you're living in space.
Yep. Yep.
So yeah, I think Adama was a little too tough on Lee? Yes. Do I think that it was a product of the time? Yes, in terms of, like, the writing and how that scene went. Do I fucking love how Dee was like, she just scaled it back and was like, "It's
Hmm.
not about the weight, babe. Like,
Yeah.
I love you,
Yeah.
but it is like you have kind of given up. Like,
Exactly.
it's not about you gaining weight. It's you're soft because you do not have the reflexes that you had. You do not have,
Hmm.
you know what I mean? Like, I just so many fucking props to D. D deserves better. D
Hmm.
deserved better. We'll get into that later in this show. But anyway, okay. Something I did like was Zarek asking Rosalind when they're about to die. They think they're
Yeah.
about to die. Like, they're in this, like, they've been captured by the Cylon slash the new Caprica Cylon police people.
Hmm.
And they've been brought out to this, like, field where they're clearly going to be, executed.
Hmm.
And Zarek asks Rosalind if she really did try to steal the election, and she's just like, yeah, I kind of did. And
Yeah.
he's just like, wish she had gone through with
What
it.
you going
And
through with it?
she basically says, yep, me too.
Me too.
It's
I
so
I
it's
l-
so like it's such a
yeah.
great moment. It's such a great moment between
I
them.
loved their interactions just even from when it starts, when he gets on the thing and she's just like, "Hey, need a ride?" like and it was funny seeing him there because he's like, what are you doing here? Like I loved their like little
What are
interactions with each
you
other.
doing here?
Yeah. Man, yeah. And one insight that I had that was cool was that, Tom Zarek on two occasions attempted to protect Laura Rosalind, right? Which was awesome because they were adversaries, and they were not like that at all. So when the firing squad is showing up and they're pretty much set to execution, and you see the Cylons show up and their little guns come out, you see Tom Zarek, she's standing in front of him, and you can see him grab her and start pulling her back towards him, like as in like that's like a protection move, where like, hey, get behind me kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? And I
Yep.
thought that
Yep.
was touching, especially coming from two people that were at odds with each other. I mean,
Yep.
they were not having it with each other at all, and you can kind of see this like, I don't know, really weird, heartwarming kind of moment where and it's real quick. It's only like a second long, but he does it and it always caught my eye because I'm like, wow, that's fucking really cool.
Well, I think,
And the
like,
second, go ahead.
sorry.
No, no, go
I
ahead.
think, like, them being at odds with each other,
Hmm.
politically is one thing, but them being in this situation where they understand that, like, this is life or death and probably death.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think that Zarek is a bad guy.
No.
I don't. I think he has questionable morals and there's a lot
Hmm.
of, stuff going on there. But also Rosalind has had questionable morals,
Oh,
as
yeah.
we've already discussed in this very
Yeah.
episode, not to mention before, but in our previous episodes. But yeah, I think that it wasn't surprising to me that he was like, nah, like let's
Yeah.
like band together and protect each
Mhm.
other. Not at
Yeah.
all surprising.
I thought it was cool. I just like seeing that, There's a lot of people who I was at odds with, you know what I'm saying? And, we see them again. Um, I don't think we spoke about it, but Colonel Ty and Kara, right? When Colonel Ty comes down to the planet and Kara's like, "Oh, hey," and he turns around and you can see they're like happy to see each other, and the way he reacts to her, and he's all like, hugging her and like, "Oh," and these people, I mean, she hit him a few times at this point, like
Mhm.
they were always at odds with each other. So they do these like really cool kind of like moments like that, So it made me think of like that, I thought of that moment when I was watching like the Zarek.
Trauma bonding.
Yeah, trauma bonding, Everyone is the best of friends in trauma. But yeah, that one, and then the second one was when they're liberating New Caprica, and Tom Zarek's with Laura Roslin, and he grabs Jammer, right? And he's like, "Hey," and Jammer's like, "Hey, I didn't do anything," which we'll get into in the next podcast. But and he pulls out a gun and he's like, "No," he's like, "Take this." He's like, "Protect her, don't let her out of your sight." And it was like, wow, like that's cool. He's giving up one of his firearms. Let's face it, it's probably the only firearm he has. And he's like, "Protect her, she's important," So I thought that was pretty cool, you know. Let me think what
So
else. I think that was it. That's all I
the last thing I want to talk about, and I think you and I both wanted to touch on this, but didn't think to put it in the notes, is when everybody is back on the Galactica.
Oh yeah.
And they have this like amazing reunion where everybody's like, Adama, Adama, Adama.
Mm-hmm.
And right before that, Adama had, had a moment with Ty. And it's like this beautiful, this whole scene is like, it's beautiful. It's great. It's like, oh, we've rescued everybody from New Caprica. And the Cylons, and we're back on the Galactica, and we're going to go reunite with the fleet. But y'all, Ty just had to kill his wife.
Yep. To kill his wife.
That was dark as fuck.
It was dark.
And Ty also, like, he's also been he's been captive, he's been tortured, he lost a fucking eye.
Yeah.
And I can't like fault Adama for, Adama gave Ty a moment like, "Hey, oh my god, I'm so glad to see you again," etc. But it's such a triumphant scene in so many ways, but then Ty is just wandering off on his own.
It's tragic. Yeah, it's a tragic happy ending is what it is.
Yeah. I mean, even it's tragic. I don't even know, tragic happy ending. I don't even know if that like encapsulates like what it is.
Yeah.
I mean, it's this like triumphant thing that they've rescued everybody from New Caprica. They're gonna, I don't know, go find Earth, but they're fucked again because
the
Cylons can still find them. They only have the Battlestar Galactica now. They do not have the Pegasus. They like, so many people have died. Not to mention all the other nonsense with like Deanna and Caprica 6 and Baltar kidnapping Hera. But like that moment where Ty and Adama have this really like sweet moment, and then Adama's, everybody's hoisting him up, Adama, 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 and Ty just walks away all by himself. It is like fucking heartbreaking. And
no, it was. And I mean, look at look at Kara's face when the real mom of the baby shows up, or that kid.
Yeah.
You can tell she was very shocked and was like getting used to the idea that maybe that was her kid, you know? So she just got that ripped away from her. And then you that's when Ty talks to Adama's right after that. And then you see
Yep.
that happen. You see him walking. And then when you see how their characters are going to kind of unfold moving forward from here, you're like, oh yeah, well, they're both fucked up, is what it is, like it's wild.
It's just, I mean, it's just so fucking heartbreaking to watch
It
Ty
is.
just like walk away. And not that he wouldn't like celebrate his
Mhm.
very good friend Adama's,
No,
like it's not about that. It's like he just had to kill his wife.
yeah, you don't kill your wife and then walk away from it, like you just don't.
One would hope anyway.
One would hope. I mean, he really loved her, as crazy as she was.
Yeah. Yeah.
He really loved her. And yeah,
Oh, dark,
yeah,
dark,
that was
dark.
fucking dark. That was, I think, the most like, even after all the battle and everything, that is probably one of the most like poignant moments in this entire arc, is that ending
Mhm.
when Ty is walking away, because it's like, yeah, everyone's back and it's easy to say, look, victory, everything is great, but it's like, now here comes, you know,
Yep.
here comes the actual collateral damage now. So yeah,
Yeah.
that was rough. That was brutal.
Yeah. It was, yeah, heartbreaking to watch him walk away. And listen, like I know Ellen fucked up so bad.
Mhm.
Like she was bad. But oh my god. Ugh. All right. Any last thoughts?
No, thinking about that ending just makes me want to drink more.
I feel that. All right. As we close out the episode, we just want to give a shout out to our Heroes Tier patron, Tommy of the TKOK Podcast Network. Thank you so much for supporting us. And thank you for joining us for our 7th Media That Made Us episode on the Battlestar Galactica New Caprica Arc. With the holiday season fast approaching and the fact that I will actually be out of the country for a while next month, we'll be taking a break from our live episodes until January 2025. But make sure to follow at Geek Saga on Blue Sky, Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and or YouTube for the most current news and updates about the Geek Saga podcast, including a special holiday episode that we'll be recording, I don't know, sometime just before Christmas. We have no idea. We have no idea what it's going to be about yet. We're still, hemming and hawing and
Yes.
whatnot. So no idea what it's going to be about, but we will be recording a Christmas holiday special.
Holiday special.
Yeah, we will be recording a holiday special just before Christmas. And as always, please also consider supporting us by backing our Patreon at patreon.com/geeksaga_entertainment. Have a good night, guys. Bye.
Good night. Bye.